It's my perspective. Yeah, yo, am I wrong or is it just you? Or did my life show me some things that gave me my view? And if I went through what you went through, would I be you? I don't know. That's too many questions with no answer, but plenty chances for many lessons. Am I willing to learn that it's all perception? That the picture that I paint ain't the one that you sketching? So can we disagree without drawing a weapon? Long as I can understand that it's just your perspective. Yeah, it's my perspective. Yeah, from my perspective.
Hey, what's going on?
What's going on?
I can't see anything. There we go. I can see. Hey, hi everybody. Thank you for joining us for My Perspective Friday. And here is the crew cast.
What's up, y'all?
What's going on?
And today's subject is the clip from Bishop T.D. Jakes that states raising women to be men is causing us to lose our families. And there's been a lot of uproar about that, and I want to bring it out to the crew here to see exactly what is their perspective on it, and do they believe? I'm pretty sure, most likely, a lot of y'all already looked at the complete sermon, because we know how it does when somebody sends a clip, but they kind of not send everything that followed the statement. So I will start with Tila first, because she got the look of glory this
Why
afternoon.
you want to start with me? Oh my God!
Oh my!
I just feel like people are confused. It's like you said at the beginning. People take one specific line, phrase, sentence, and run with it. So just hearing parts of it and not having the whole understanding of what came before or after that particular sentence or phrase has put people in uproar. So you need to go back and watch the entire thing, because it was actually a wonderful, wonderful message. First of all, it was on Father's Day. So that lets you know who this sermon is directed towards. The title of the sermon was, for men to pour into. So another thing lets you know it was kind of based on men teaching and giving things to men that they need to hear right now. And the reason why people may feel like women are being raised to be men, which was taken out of context.
What about you, Lynn?
Well, I am always the one in the crew that goes, let us clarify. Let's clarify what we're talking about.
Right.
And in this case, I too did the same thing. First of all, being in media and advertising and PR, all of that kind of stuff, my first thing was, nah, this is not all of it.
Right.
I need to go back and listen to the entire story. I need to hear more than the line, because even as I asked people, well, what do you think about what he said? Folks had responses clearly based on the clip and not based on the sermon. And so I think that, first off, if you lost respect in terms of what perspective you think Reverend Jakes comes from, you get it back when you go listen to the sermon.
Yes.
You need to understand that there's a lot to be said now about women having to manage and take care of households. But guess what? That ain't new.
Right.
Single parenting is not new, any of that. But in the case of, you can't have good families because women are becoming men, I think that your first context was like, well, what are we talking about? What are we talking about? Are we talking a gender issue right now? Are we talking family issue right now. I think we all have to go back and take a look. And my suggestion is everybody go back and look at that Father's Day sermon and listen to the entire message, and
Yes.
then
Right.
see where you come out.
Right.
I think what I was trying to understand his statement, raised like men. And I was trying to understand, I understand the connotation, I understand where he was going, but when you hear raised like men, I mean, do we
He didn't say raised like men, but raised to be men, like step into
raised
the
to be
role of a man.
raised to be men? Excuse me, thank you. And I mean, do we like say that, you know, do we say that we don't need a woman, or do we say that do we paint the picture that we don't, you know, it's our way or the highway, so you can't pour into us like we're pouring into you, you know? And so I was just the comment, you know, I understood the intent, but raised to be men, and how he eloquently talked about the trials and tribulations of Black women specifically, going up the chain, trying to do this and this, and saying that they don't need a man or anything like that. But do men say the same thing? Do we say, do we say, you know what, I don't need a woman, you know?
Depending on how you say you need, because we know he talks about what the pour into means. It's not about anatomy. You know,
right. But no, but I understand.
And it's not about the present that a man has that you can use to pour into a woman, but the presence. He had so much in that sermon that's why I say a lot of people need to go back and hear every single thing, because a lot of statements that are being said, comments that are being made, the reason why people are upset, he explains it all. He explains it all.
You know, and I kind of wonder the age group that doesn't understand, you know, the age group that agrees with him and the age group that doesn't agree with him. You know, is there a fine line between understanding? Because, you know, when you are a minister, preacher, or whatever you're doing for the church, you're always taking your audience in consideration. We just
so you know what? Saying that, since you like wondering what age and generation, I would love to hear Deshaun's.
Yeah,
because he's part of the younger generation.
Yeah,
compared to us.
So for me, when Tila and Miss Lynn say what they said, I'm gonna tell y'all, when I heard the clip, I was like, well, wait a minute, where he coming from? Like, automatically, because our generation, how we don't go and check it out. Let's go all the way, see what you did, and then you bring your stuff to the table. Now, like I can bring it to the table now. I ain't had nothing to bring to the table, because when I heard that clip, I was like, well, wait a minute, TD Jakes. Hold up now. What you mean by that? What you mean by women are being raised to be men? Where you coming with that? And so I was like, well, okay, now this helped me to change my statement, because what I was about to come on here and say, I'm like, now Miss Lynn and Tila just switching me all up here. Because I'm like, we need to go.
Right. And Deshaun, really quick, Miss Lynn, Tila may have a perspective on the way that he preached that sermon. You know, everybody, if you get 10 people to listen to that sermon, you probably get like 10 or 6 that would agree what he said, and the other 4 that didn't. So, you know, it's understandable that, you know, from Tila's perspective, from Lynn's perspective, they're saying that we need to go hear it. But maybe, Deshaun, you go out there and hear it, and you still ain't satisfied. Yeah. You know, Larry, what do you think?
Oh, I'm not sure you want to know what I think, but
go ahead.
No, we want to know. We want to know.
I admit I did not listen to the whole sermon. I read most of it. There was a printout that I read, but I believe that women are not being raised to be men. Or, well, let me rephrase that. They shouldn't be. Just the same way that men shouldn't be raised to be women.
But what does that mean, Larry? What does it mean to be raised to be a man? Or what does it mean to be raised to be a female?
Exactly. That's what I'm trying to find out.
Well, okay. Now, in my personal belief, and I don't want to offend anybody, but my personal belief is you have a male, you have a female, and that's it. And I don't believe that you ought to be convincing people to be the opposite. I don't believe that you ought to be preaching to children that they have a choice, because I personally don't believe that whether you're a man or a woman, that is a choice. That's genetics. Again, my opinion. Being an old guy, I'm old school. And
Okay, but wait a minute. Let me pose this. I am, all my crew knows, the prospective crew knows, I'm an educated sister. Okay. Some of the comments that came out from, the sound clips pertain to being raised to be men, in that we are thriving or striving for similar goals. And therefore, if I'm educated, if I've got an executive level position in a corporation, this or that, that's too much, that I'm becoming the man in the house, because I may end up being the bigger breadwinner or the this or that. What I heard was when couples, relationships, people in situations don't share in responsibility, and one becomes the greater owner of something, that was part of where there was concern. That whole thing about you becoming the man. Why? Because I can buy the car, because I can do this or that. I want to know what's wrong with that. If I can buy the car,
but it's nothing wrong with that. It's nothing wrong with that. I'm sorry, I don't mean to get in here, but
let me ask you something, Lynn. What did you mean by the owner of something?
What I meant was that I didn't mean owner as ownership,
like an owner of a business or something.
I didn't mean ownership in terms of, what I own in the relationship. I meant that I have a right to own myself, my education, my growth, my development. I own that for me, not to say that I own that to be better than the man in my life, or to be better than, to be a man, so to speak.
No, I would agree with that. First of all, I believe that men and women should be considered to be equal. I don't care who makes the most money. Now, I'd be very happy if my wife made the most money. That doesn't bother me. But I believe that everybody should be equal. I don't believe that, I don't believe in the statement that women are raised to be men or like men. Right. There's no point in that. Women are women, men are men.
Right.
And, exactly. And that's
right.
I'm sorry, go ahead.
Yeah, and there is no way, and everybody has their entitled to their own opinion, but my opinion is there is no way you're going to turn one into the other. I don't care what you think.
Right.
Now, you know what?
If you have a different opinion, you have a right to have that opinion. I have a right to have mine. Mm-hmm. It's not my job to convince you to feel the way I do.
I think he only meant when he says women are being raised to be men. I think he meant as in a role basis, like role of the home. Men usually has a certain place in the home as the hierarchy, the man of the house, and then the woman of the house, and then what their roles are determined to be. I think that's what they're saying. Because yes, I raised my daughter to be independent because
Right.
you don't know in this day and age if you are going to be by yourself or if you are going to find that
Right.
one. So you have to be able to step into a place where you can take care of yourself, take care of your home, and if you have
Right.
children, take care of them if the man is not present.
That's
No,
right.
no, that is completely true, but that also doesn't mean that you have to be like a man to be in control of your household. And well, I
Correct.
don't mean, I
And,
don't
and
mean,
that's where I was getting.
I don't mean
Right.
control, you know, because, you know, nobody has a right to control the other one.
Correct.
Right.
No,
Well, and I think
you don't be a man to hey, go out and make the most money, or be the one that goes out and buys things like a car or something like that. You know, a woman can do that too.
Right.
And you know what? And I was thinking like, so are we, if we was just to tear this apart, if we would do some deconstruction of this topic. So there's a couple of things. So a lot of people, especially in the church, believes that men are the breadwinners, right? They are the ones that supposed to provide for their home.
Mhm.
And then, you know, and I'm thinking when he says that, he says, listen, you know, don't try to be like the man, because, you know, let him do that. Let him still provide for you. And at the same time, you still have your career. What I think is that a lot of people that's not in the church, you know, because you got people that's in the church, you know, that you know follow the Bible to the letter, and you got people that's not in the church and say, what are you talking about? If in my household, the men is not, you know, we both provide for each other.
Right.
I don't believe that the man is supposed to provide for me. So when you're reaching out, or you know, not reaching out, but when you're explaining a situation like this or a story like this, I think sometimes you got to read your audience, because there are some people that, you know, that looking at you on TV that are saying, so what you're saying, so the man is the breadwinner in my house, but if I go out and start making more money than him, and he stops supporting me or whatever, and he can't pour himself into me, I'm wrong. I am being raised to be a man, or I'm probably saying it the wrong way. But I think there's a lot of different elements in that statement where you have people that are not Christians that's listening to this and don't understand why the man is considered the breadwinner in the house.
He didn't even mention the fact of being a breadwinner.
Right.
He
Right.
said it doesn't have anything
Never
to do with
mentioned
money. It doesn't have anything to do with fame. It's about, because you can have a man in your house, but he's not present. He's not at home. He's not
Right.
doing anything. He's not emotionally supportive. He can't read your cues. You throw up smoke signals, they have nothing. They don't know what's going on with you. It's
Mhm.
ways that you pour into the person that you love.
Right.
That's why he
Right.
explained the difference in loving someone and not
Right.
loving someone, and they become a
Right.
servant. And he used the term friend.
But you know,
Right.
but you could have the same problem with a woman too.
Well,
Exactly.
and that's
Exactly.
that's a valid point, because some of the comments that were part of the clip appeared to come from a male's perspective of when a woman appeared to come from a man possibly saying, this is what I get a lot of. The sister or the woman coming down and telling me, I did this, I did this, I did this. What did you do? Now, if that is the case, that's kind of wrong too. You know, I mean, I'm going to say relationships, couples, households, whether you are together or divided, have to pour into each other equitably. Now, that does not mean equitably from a financial point of view. One may be the greater financial provider, and the other may be the greater spiritual provider. Whatever it takes to make it work, right, Deshaun? Yeah, whatever, there's a balance, and we have to stop evaluating our roles based on a dollar perspective.
Right.
But a lot
And
of
he also
relationships
stated the
like
reason
that.
why you have those women and possibly men that come in bragging is because it's coming from pain, what they're not getting.
Yeah.
I'm out here doing all this and you sitting on your behind. You know what I'm saying?
Right.
It's like we keep having these conversations. You're not doing or standing up to what you said you were going to do. You're
So
not even
is that woman wrong for
you're
thinking that
not
way?
appreciating that I'm trying to elevate us, not
Right.
just me, but I'm trying to elevate us. But there's no appreciation. You still bringing me down. You're doing things that you're not showing me. Like we are that team, regardless. It's almost like you have a problem with me doing this.
Well,
Right. So what man can?
It's coming from
sounds
anger
more like
when they
a-
come in bragging.
Well, what you're saying sounds more like a one-way relationship. And if that's what you have, why do you still have it?
Exactly, and he said that.
But like I can just say, growing up in the home, and I'm kind of going personal with this, because growing up when I was young and I saw my parents, my dad and my mom together, it wasn't like that. My mom had to be the breadwinner. She had to be the father. She had to be the one to get the money, because my father was just, I'm just be honest, he was ratchet. Like, I'm just straight up say it. I can't get any other way to be nice with it. He was just ratchet. So he wasn't, he wasn't a good dad at all. So my father, after whatever that happened, my mom, she had 4 kids, which is myself, my 2 brothers, and my sister. So she had to raise us by herself. So she had to be the dad, the mama. She had to be all of those.
Everything.
And so she raised us right. I'm here. And the last time I saw my father is when I was 5 years old, and I'm 30 now, and I haven't seen him. So my mom has been present in my life all the way. So that's why I'm like, you know, what TD Jake said, I know that's not what he was saying, but I understand what Tila is saying, that, and even Miss Lynn, that in a relationship, even what I see now with like some of my aunts and them, like their husband and them, they match each other, they balance each other. So if one don't have it, I got it, baby. Let's do it. You know what I'm saying? If I don't have it, then I got it, baby. Let's do it. So you know what I'm saying? I feel like it's that balance in the marriage, in the home. And then that actually help your kids to see this how it should be when you get married.
Right.
Well, Deshaun, you know, I'd like to say that in your personal case, the way you described it, your father really wasn't there.
No.
And your mother, even though she wasn't trying to be a man, she was trying to be a parent.
Right.
And she did a good job.
She did, yes.
Yeah,
yes.
Apparently she did a very good job on her own without trying to be a man. She was still a woman.
Yes.
And she was a parent.
Right. And what I mean by when I say she was a father, she was a mother, I mean that, because people might say, what do you mean by that? I feel like she had to bring that discipline, like as a father, to like, okay, I'm gonna have to be tough on my boys. Because
she had to be the nurturer, the protector,
right? Because she has one thing about boys are stubborn. Like I'm gonna get my way. I don't care what you say. You know what I'm saying? So you know, she might say, "Wait a minute now. What you're not gonna do is that."
She gave you that 2-piece,
right? So, right. She let you know what you're not gonna do. Yes, I'm a woman, but you're gonna know your place as my child.
Exactly.
So I understood. Like, okay, right now she being the one that like I got to get with you and put you in your place. So I understood the balance, but she was still being a woman.
So she had that belt with the holes in it with grommets.
Oh yes, sir. Yes, sir. Oh yes. Oh yes.
Oh yeah. Yeah. My mom too. My mom too.
Yeah,
so can somebody?
When I grew up, you can buy those at the grocery store.
Oh, you still can buy them. No, not the man. Walmart. It's still considered a grocery store. Let me ask the question: can somebody? Maybe I'm confused. What is it to be raised like a man?
Not raised like a man.
Raised to be a man.
To be in the role, the gender role of a man, meaning you are the protector. If you have children, you are protecting them if the man is not there. Okay. That's usually the role of the man.
Okay.
You're the head of the household.
We're saying this as a Christian base, right? Because the role is it so can we unanimously say that in a household, and we bring a whole bunch of different religions and non-religious people here and say that the role of the man is to be the protector in every one of those households? Do a lot of people think that?
I don't think so. I don't think so, because this generation now, you got the women now that like, even if my husband don't, I'm gonna do something. I'm gonna be a protector.
You got the mama bear and you got the papa bear. The papa bears are there. The mama bear is it.
Right. So
Yeah, but I guess my question is, my question is it acceptable to say that the man is the head of the household?
I wouldn't
No.
say
Yes.
that. I wouldn't say that.
I think
See,
it,
Yeah.
Because if you're looking at it from the Bible standpoint, because you keep saying Christian Bible
Right.
standpoint, right?
Okay.
Right, right.
There's the alpha, there's the omega, you have all these things, right? It's a hierarchy, right? You have the man, the woman, and the children,
Okay.
right?
Okay.
Even in the animal kingdom,
Okay. Hello.
when you see the flock led, what do you see? Who's in front?
Okay.
The father,
Who's in the middle?
The
Who's in
mother.
the back?
the children.
It's usually the man in the front or
Yeah.
in the back, depending on the situation. Because
Right.
he might be in the front at the beginning, and then he
Right.
makes his way to the back, and the woman goes. Because you know your roles, you know when you're supposed to know
Right.
where your place is at a certain time, right? So, like
Right.
Deshaun said earlier, if the man doesn't have, the woman has. So the man pours into the woman for her to appreciate what he's pouring in, to manifest it, appreciate it, and to multiply it, to make it bigger,
Right.
to make it better.
Right.
That's why
Okay.
she's the nurturer.
Right.
Okay.
So that's
And
just
that's
being
why-
in a spotlight.
yeah.
That you
Right.
need
So
to
when
be.
I asked that question, Tila, you was the only one that said, I think you the only one that said that in relationships, the man is the head of the household. Do we all agree that the man is the head of the household? I mean,
So-
Well,
Wait,
I'm saying in Bible terms, I understand because I have learned growing up, and especially in church as well too, that first you have God, then you have dad,
right.
then you have mama, then
And
you
you
have
have Romont.
right, right. So I understand that, but I feel even outside of church, even if I was dealing with somebody that wasn't church, they didn't know nothing about no Bible. They whole house is different. But I mean, you got the wife, the head, but you got
Right.
the husband in the back somewhere or behind her.
Right,
She the
right.
head. So
Right. Yeah, I agree. And the reason why I bring that up is to bring light on that not everybody is looking at, not everybody, even if you listen to the whole sermon of Bishop T.D. Jakes, not everybody really believes that the man is the head of the household nowadays. And I'm not saying that, our generation, but younger generations that are being raised, that are not being raised in church.
Well, you have to
it's
look at
totally-
it as, this is how I look at it, because again, sometimes it does flip flop
Right.
depending on situations. So I
Right.
tell people to look at it this way: the man is the head, right? The woman is the neck. That head does not move without that neck.
I agree.
So that's where that balance comes in.
I agree.
right.
And
right.
that's
agree.
where it says, okay, we're supporting each other and we're leaning, because you can't move without me, baby. You know
Exactly.
what I'm saying?
I
'Cause
totally
we got to
agree.
protect all of this.
That's
within the
I
house.
totally agree.
Well, and
See,
and we also
me
have
being the head, I don't move without the neck telling me it's okay.
Well, that's right. That's right.
well, and then now we also have to face reality that the nuclear family looks different now.
Right.
A
Yes.
nuclear
Oh my God.
family
It does.
looks
Yeah.
so different than what
That's true.
people were accustomed to,
Or raised
know,
to.
or
raised to
what
be-
what may be shaped by this particular conversation.
Right.
You know,
Yeah, it rubs them off the wrong way. I believe that it rubs them off the wrong way because I have family and I got people in my family that are gay living with another woman. So so it invites other type of conversations in to say, okay, so what you're saying is that somebody in this gay family needs to be the head of the household. Somebody in this gay family needs to be the man of the. It needs to be the man of the relationship, and most likely there is one.
Well,
But
that's any relationship, regardless of what it is, because I think you know your strengths, you know your
Right.
weaknesses,
Right.
right? So you're the head when you need to be the head.
right.
That's the
Right,
thing.
right.
You have to know when to move and how to move by
Right.
knowing who you are and what you're the best at to make this a great space.
And that'll make your home be more peaceful.
yes.
Exactly.
We're not trying to battle each other. We ain't fighting each other. We like,
Right.
okay, well, babe, you got that, babe. I got this.
Right.
And
I think with people just trying to put a label on it in
Right.
families, and that's where I think where the bumping of the heads are coming into with this conversation. We're trying to label, not saying we as us, but they're trying to label the family as there has to be a woman and there has to be a man, and their demand is the head of the household. The younger generations, not saying for every generation, but younger generations now do not believe that. They're not. I mean, we can say that you balance me and stuff, and that's true. You're stronger than me. You're the head. But just because you're the head doesn't mean that you're the man. The man can be the neck, right? So I think what people are getting wrapped up around is raised to be a man. And I think just that not listening to the whole sermon, because listening to the whole sermon tells you something entirely different. But
Right.
if they listen to the whole sermon and they was not raised in church, they're still going to be like, well, damn, I still don't agree that terminology being raised as a man, maybe raised as the primary, raised as a secondary, raised at this, because people do not like labels. And
well, I think that goes into because women are a little harder now. We're a little more tougher now, because we have to be. So we got to learn how to change the oil. We got to learn how to change the tire. We got to learn how to do all these things that's supposed to be gender roles as a man's role, because we don't know if you're going to find that one is going to be there to do that. So the terminology that he used might have been a little warped, but if you go a little deeper, you understand what that means. It's just that
I totally
before
agree.
women were taught to do certain things, men were taught to do certain things because you came in and it was all on a straight line. Now you have to know to do everything. You have
to be prepared at any point in time. I mean, I've been a widow for 15 years. If I'm sitting around waiting on a quote unquote man to be the head of my household and make sure everything is taken care of, I'm in trouble.
Right.
There you are, especially in Atlanta.
I'm in trouble for that too. But yeah, I mean, it is. Because when I listened to the sermon and I was like, look, what I get out of the whole sermon is what it takes, that compromise that is required when we love one another, regardless of what we put on the table, take off of the table, throw behind the table. All of that is important. And so in loving one another, it's a give and take. It's not a wait a minute, mama, why are you going to threaten me with you can do this and I can't do that? Because listen, don't let me raise up some questions about other insecurities. Okay, we don't need to go there today.
Well, that was the part about the pouring in. The pouring in. Some people don't have anything to pour from. He had a great visual with the picture, the water bottle, the 2 glasses. He even talked about the broken up homes that we have. Where was Joseph? Where was Joseph? Where was Joseph? That's why who had to come in to become their father? Where was he? So even though you may not have that head of household or that man, someone has to step into that male role to balance it out, regardless.
To
women
get it done.
Do all of it. Men can't do all of it. We try our best to, but it's still not a balance there when it comes to the children.
But Tila, can I say something real quick?
Absolutely.
When you said that, I know growing up when my father wasn't there, and I just would say the universe began to provide mentors in my life.
Yes.
Other men to come of certain things my mom didn't know, as a woman, like certain things I might can't teach my son that. Or I don't know about I don't have education on this. So some of the mentors in my church when I was living in New Jersey, some of them they helped us. And so so some of us came around, some of them came around to help us. And so I understand what you're saying about when it comes to like how when a mother has to just know everything and stuff like that. But there are times when my mom, and I just got to be honest, I have seen it with my own eyes. She didn't know certain things. And that's when she had to ask some of the men in the church, hey, can you show my son this? Can you show my son that? And I have to say it really worked out for the good.
Because bottom line, a woman cannot teach a boy to be a man when she is not that herself.
I totally agree.
That's right.
Right.
That's why I spent
You might
30
teach
years,
them
almost 30
respect,
years in the
you might
military.
respect all these things,
Right.
but you cannot teach them how to be a man.
Yeah, I mean, because my mom was a single mom and still is, and I didn't have that support growing up, living in New Jersey, Linden, New Jersey, and
Newark.
I was like, I got robbed in Newark. I hate that place. I'm just joking. So, but but I joined the military because I did not have that male figure, and my first male figure was that daggone drill sergeant. You know what I'm saying? And him telling me how much of a piece of crap I was, and him dogging me that I didn't have a father. Him bringing all of that out of
breaking you to bring you back up.
Right.
Breaking me down to bring me back up. And that's why I stayed in the military as long as I did, because when I had the father figure, then I became a mentor, then became a father figure. So I felt as though that it was my duty to teach other men, regardless if they was Black, white, Chinese, Asian, or Hispanic, whoever, to teach them how to be men. So I totally understand coming from a household that's like a single family. My mom used to beat me when I came out the shower. That's the worst beating in the world.
You bet.
Yes, it is. Let's talk about it.
That's the worst. I swear.
When you came out of the shower?
Oh yeah, you never got beat coming out the shower.
We should say, Larry, that's got a sting you don't want to talk about.
honey.
But you know what? Look, we just had one of our viewers make a really valid comment, which was, and I absolutely agree. The bottom line is both sides, male and female,
contribute to the mess.
have to be accountable for the goodness or for the mess. So,
and it's a really sad state of affairs that you've got to have a sermon to tell you that.
Man, preach it, Larry.
Wow.
Well, like
I'm going to stand up in my soapbox and I think that should be, well, I could say that should be just common knowledge, but you shouldn't have to have somebody to tell you that. But roles are different now. There's a whole new generation out there that has a completely different take on life.
Right. And then like with Sean, when you were saying about how the generation now, like I look at some of my cousins and them, and they're around my age. We are millennials. And so she the way her husband and them operate, I just be looking back like, no, that's wow, that's interesting. Like, okay. It's nothing bad. It's just like, wow.
It's a different
dynamic.
I saw a marriage back then, and to now, it's like, okay.
Yeah, and that was my point earlier, where the younger generations probably doesn't look at this as labeling man. I mean, being turned into a man, being raised as a man versus, like, we understand what Bishop T.D. Jakes was saying, but if I was to talk to my daughter or my son, my daughter who's 20, my son who's 21 or 25, and ask them what do they think about relationships, they're going to be like, well, there's no label in this. If you need to either step up and you be the sole provider. That's what the term they use. Or I'm going to be the sole provider. So they're not even looking at it as that. And that's why I was saying that maybe that the terminology that he used, the intent was, was good. But I think the audience, him saying the intent to the audience, that younger generation may have turned them away from it. That's all I was just saying. I'm not saying that his message was wrong, but I just think the verbiage could have been changed just a little bit.
I didn't know
you get what you give. You get what you give.
Right.
That was the whole message. If you're trying to pour into someone, you got to see the reflection in the mirror.
Exactly.
That's right.
I agree.
If you are not giving and you're always taking, what do you expect?
That's right.
Well, and
There's a lot of families out here where people are taking and not giving. and the other
Right.
person is feeling bad because they're pouring so much out that they're dry and
Right.
have
Right.
nothing
Right.
else to give. So
Right.
then they become this wall that goes up, and now I gotta sit here and protect my emotions.
Right,
I
because they
gotta
giving
protect my
100%.
needs.
Right, they giving 100%, but
Right.
you only giving maybe about 5%, 10%, and they like, well, wait a minute, I'm all the way in the room bringing 100%, and I'm like, where you at?
Well, but you see, the other thing is,
Right.
understanding that there are more ways to give than just financially, materialistically.
That's true.
Okay.
Right.
For example, you could have a woman being, for example, I mean, look, y'all, I ain't gonna lie. I would rather pay somebody to clean house than clean house. Okay. That's just not who I am. Okay. I'd rather work to pay somebody than do it as quote unquote the woman's work. All right. But if we got a family situation where, look, if I can come home and dinner is cooked and you don't mind dealing with the food, helping nourish us, get the kitchen cleaned up, baby, you could be the house dad. I'm good with that. Okay? I'm good with that. Be creative. Be the entrepreneur that you want to be, that may not give us everything we want, but it gives you a satisfaction in your own life. We just got to work with each other and stop labeling stuff. And then the other thing is, stop
And I agree with
labeling
that.
stuff as it's this or it's that.
Right.
No, it's called community.
Okay, right.
It's called community, whether it's a household of a man and a woman, 2 women, 2 men, a man, a woman, children. It's community.
Well, that's why in the Bible it says you become one. That's why the labels are not there. So that's another reason why this generation, my generation, we don't use labels because we're one, right? So there's no label there. We're a household, we're a unit, and we know how to take care of it. So even if the woman is the breadwinner, he still should not make that man feel less than, because he's still the man. So you're still supposed to uplift him as he is uplifting you as well.
From both parts.
Elevating on both sides.
I agree.
Tearing each other down,
I totally agree.
that paycheck. Because if that paycheck was to leave tomorrow, where are you going to be when it comes to those emotions, those feelings, the love, the appreciation, and all those other things that come with it?
Absolutely.
That's good.
And the man needs to uplift his relation, his wife or whoever he's in a relationship with, because like you said, you can't do nothing. Like you said, Tila, the head can't do nothing without the neck.
Right.
And it's kind of hard to be walking around like this all day.
Like a bobblehead, right?
Like a bobblehead, but you hit the nail on the head, Tila. I could not disagree with you any differently, and I agree with Len, because we put labels on so much stuff where people are turned off when they hear certain things. They're like, "Well, what you mean? I'm the house. I'm the man in the relationship." So they want to, people nowadays or whatever, some generations will take that and run with it, because they're saying that now you're labeling me, and now you're saying that I cannot function in this relationship because you have to be the man of the relationship.
Right.
And I think not listening to the sermon completely does a disservice to the message that Bishop T.D. Jakes was saying.
Because it brought confusion. It brought confusion because everybody's all over the place. And like Ms. Lynn said,
he didn't bring confusion.
No, I'm talking about their. That's what I'm talking. I'm talking about the audience. I'm talking about the people. They are so
in the media and the reaction,
astray, right? Because they are all over the place because they didn't go back and listen to the whole message. And so, you said, You
know what? And there's something just came to me. There is also, even in the title of the sermon, there is such a difference between pouring in and pouring on.
Right.
Okay. So when you pour into someone, that person ought to be open to receive. When you pour on someone, That's somebody putting up an umbrella trying to keep the rain out.
Right.
Okay. So we have to learn what it really means to engage in behavior and relationships that pour into, as opposed to pour onto. Okay, that's my sermon for today.
I love prepositions.
Right.
But I
And it's
agree.
just
I
like
agree.
he said, and he said a part in there. He says, I know you can buy your own house. I know you can buy your own car. I know all of this. And that's good. That's great. I want you to, basically, right? But that does not make you the man in this situation. But I'm happy for you. But sometimes people feel like, oh, because they're able to do all these things, I can't do anything for her because she can do it herself. This rose-colored glass that just because a woman can do all of these things, that it's nothing that you still can do. Like Ms. Lynn said earlier, it's not about finances. I've said it's not about finances.
Right.
Yes, I can get all these people. What else can you pour into me? How can you elevate me, make me feel good? Because he even said something about, oh, you can talk about the female when she's hostile, when she's angry. You can talk about how nasty she is, how angry she is. But do you come and let her know how beautiful she is? Do you tell her all the things that she's doing well? No. So how do you expect, if you're not pouring those things into her, for her to give anything back to you but anger, hostility?
Right. And that's gonna make her feel like you're not in love with her.
Right.
You know, like, okay, why did you marry me? You know, why we commit to this if you're not pouring into me? You know, so, and like Miss Lynn said, it's not about material things. It's about things that build her confidence, like you said, her confidence. You know, when she's maybe work all day, rub her feet, do something that will be like, wow, he's into me, you know? So yeah, I like
but,
that.
But at the same token, I'm going to say at the same token, the woman, if that is a choice, if a particular man is the man you chose for whatever reasons, then whatever roles you presume, you have to own, you have to accept that that's the position that I fell in love with or I agreed to. You can't change the game.
I don't know if I agree with that, Miss Lynn, because I don't know if I agree that you can't change the game, because things happen and things have to change.
I don't mean you can't change the game. What I'm saying is that if you know, whichever partner you choose, you know from the beginning what you bring to the table. Okay. Now, I can see if circumstances change and what you thought was what was coming to the table was not. Yeah, you can change your mind about whether you want that at the table. But at the same token, if you are who you are from an education, from a career, from a motivation point of view, then it is also incumbent upon you, me as the female, to pour something back into the man. Gotcha. As opposed to holding over the man's head that I did this and you didn't. That might not have been what was at the crux of the relationship.
Right.
You know.
And is it safe to assume that Bishop T.D. Jakes was talking about a family as being a woman and a man taking the LGBTQ community out of the conversation?
I can't say if that's what he was saying.
I can't say if that's what he was saying.
Okay. Yeah, it just came into my mind. So I was just thinking, because we're talking about pouring into a woman and being raised as a man. I was just wondering if that's what he was thinking, because
if he was talking, he was like, because if you're not pouring into your relationship,
right,
and then kids are involved, what are you pouring into your children?
Right. Right. That's the whole point. Pouring in is the value lesson. Pouring in, but also means somebody's got to be willing to receive as well.
Amen.
You know,
so when my well runs dry, everything that you have poured into me and your well runs dry, we can keep pouring back into each other.
Right.
because you poured into me. Now it's my turn to pour back into you. And we're going to pour into our children. And they're going to continue to pour into whatever community they need, whether it's family, friends, or whatever. Because when you are hurting, when you are down, when you are going through something, that person should know without you saying one word that I'm in need. And need is a strong word for a lot of people. That's why I think a lot of it, people are like, oh, what? Women don't need a man. They don't need this. They got this. They got that. I want you to be there, but you have to show me that you're able to do the things you, as that leader of the household. If I don't see that, no, in that term, I don't need you.
Right.
But if you're giving me everything that I need, then yes, it is absolutely needed.
Larry, you was about to say something. I think I cut you off. What were you about to say, Larry?
Oh, I don't have a clue.
We gotta let him talk when he's ready to talk, y'all.
Yeah, you cut him off.
I don't remember.
Oh, no worries. I agree. I totally agree. And if you know anything about me, I always try to look at a conversation holistically and bring other factors into it. You know, what other people that's outside the church may be thinking of this sermon, or and trying to take little words, being raised as a man and everything else,
make it negative,
but making it negative, and not to say that it's making it negative, but to fit their way of thinking. You know, because we can't say that my way of thinking is negative. It's just the way that I am interpreting what Bishop T.D. Jakes is saying. Now let's address the elephant in the room. Now we're talking about pastors who has been not him, but pastors who has been in trouble in the past, where the trust factor of receiving information from the internet may be, suspect. So some people may take it like, well, he don't know what he's talking about. He's just trying to break up the LGBTQ community, or he's just trying to paddle his older fan base and not look at the younger generation. So that's why I kind of bring those different topics in there, because I believe that some of those need to be addressed too.
I can't say nothing about that. You got to own your role, is what I say.
Right.
Own your role.
Right.
If you're gonna step into a role, right. Own it.
Right.
Whatever it is.
Right. I agree. I mean, dag. Okay. So
you own it, you believe in it, and you just do it. Okay. Right. No matter what it is, what's going on. Not saying that you cannot, go out of it, in and out. That's the purpose of having a partner. They step in when you can't do it.
Right.
Okay. So
set up at the beginning.
So we're gonna talk about the final thoughts of this fabulous topic. I think there should be like a part 2 or 3 of this topic, because there's a lot of variables that was brought into here that we have not discussed. But I want to start with you, Larry. What is your final thoughts on this topic?
Well, my final thoughts are that well, first of all, life has changed a lot, but there's still a man and a woman. That doesn't mean that one is better or more powerful than the other. When you're in a relationship, it's an equal partnership. It's not the leave it to Beaver days like it used to be.
Right.
It is equal.
Right.
And I don't believe that one is in charge and the other one follows. Now, I don't know if that's what people are looking for, but that's just the way I believe. It takes a man and a woman, and well, we can get into other things with that, but
I got you. All right, Deshaun, what is your final thoughts?
My final thoughts is, all I'm gonna say is just flow in your own household. Whatever goes in your house, just flow with it.
Exactly.
Balance each other. Communication is key in a household with the woman and the man in the marriage. Communication is key. That's a lot. That's my final thoughts. Just flow with it. Flow.
Very good. Very good statement there.
Very good. The lovely Miss Tila.
Well, my final thoughts. Oof, honey, that's a lot to unpack here.
It is.
Saying the main point in this whole thing and why people are confused. It was a sermon given on Father's Day. Okay, y'all took the whole sermon given to fathers and found this woman element that made you feel like you had to go back to the Ice Age. Okay, listen to the whole sermon. It's called Pouring Into Someone. We are not servants. We're not here to just be. People feel like, oh, he want the women to be in the household barefoot, pregnant, cleaning. That's not what he's saying. Okay, he's saying a lot of women are angry. A lot of women didn't have fathers. A lot of men didn't have fathers. So of course they don't know how to be. A man may not know how to be a father if he didn't have one. A woman may not know how to accept a man as a husband or in that type of relationship if she didn't have an example. So you have to find ways to make your household balance, because every household is different. What works for mine may not work for yours, but it has to be communication, and you have to find that order of balance so you can pour into each other. Make sure you have a happy home. Make sure your kids know what love looks like and what certain standards are not. If you grew up in an argumentative home, what your kids feel like. Okay, so it goes back to the kids in the home. What do you want them to get out of that household?
That's right.
The head may be the woman, it may be the man, but they do not work without each other if that's how your household goes. Regardless if you're a woman and you're the breadwinner, honey, do not tear down your man if he is pouring into you. Right. It's not about finances. It's about more than that.
Right.
Okay, you have to pour into each other. So just make sure you take care of each other. Look at yourself. See what you're pouring in, and if it doesn't look right, you might need to change your own perspective so that you can get what you need to be poured back into you.
You know, you guys are making me feel bad because you're all saying it better than I did.
Miss Lynn, your final thoughts. Hey, Larry, I can go back to you.
My final thoughts is that part.
Right, that part. Right.
My final thought, that part. You know.
Thank you.
Two pieces of advice. One, stop living off of sound bites, because they'll get you in trouble every time. There is always more to the story than what you hear. Go to the source. Stop listening to the sound bites. But I will go back to the point that I made earlier and remind people that it is about pouring in and receiving, not pouring on and dumping.
I agree. Larry, do you want to say anything else?
Well, all I was going to say is if we're going to stop listening to sound bites, and that eliminates social media altogether.
Yeah.
You
know what? My final thoughts is we had this saying in the military called RTFB. That stands for read the effing book. If anybody knows me, I don't really cuss. So it's read the freaking book. And that goes on with what you said, Tila, and that goes on what you said, Lynn. Stop biting on these sound bites and go out there and read but you can read it too, but listen to the whole sermon, because it kind of gets thrown out of whack where people want to take this and create a narrative. And now here we are talking about it. It's if everybody would have would have listened to the sermon, then we won't be here. But people want to put labels on things, and when you put labels on things, it kind of makes it hard for us to be this way. It kind of puts us this way. And it goes with being the breadwinner or not being a breadwinner. Even in certain households, they like to put labels on it. When you start putting labels on things in the household, you start pushing away, and then you can't pour in. But I believe that we all have gained a lot of perspective on here, and my eyes have opened because I got Reverend Tila over here.
Reverend Tila,
boy.
Reverend Tila, Deacon Lynn, we go home.
Yeah. I'll be the lady with the white shoes. I'll be the lady with the white shoes. Those white shoes.
The usher.
The usher. Yeah. I'll be the usher with the gloves and stuff, fanning you when you're receiving the Holy Ghost. But I want to thank everybody here for listening and watching, and I want you to subscribe. I want you to like and tell all your friends. I said it, Taylor.
Yes. Tell me comment.
And comment on our show, because we don't get better unless you tell us how you feel about the show.
Come
So
on in here with us.
Yeah.
I'm telling you, we'll see you next Friday, and bye-bye.
It's my perspective. Yeah, from my perspective. It's my perspective.